Welcome to the Old Boar Plays City Skylines. This is a tutorial series for you to learn all about Railway 2 train networks. I'm putting in functioning railway infrastructure, and in this video I'll be putting in a train maintenance facility for passenger trains. So first, I'm going to remove my cargo line to give room for this maintenance facility. There's two ways of going about making a complex rail yard. One is with nodeless track, and the other is with dynamic procedural track. Nodeless track gives you a fine level of detail that you can't get with any other tracks. If you'd like to learn how to do that, I have a video called How to Make Advanced Connections with Railway 2 Networks, Beginner's Guide. But in this video, I'm going to be using the dynamic procedural tracks, the ones with the brown icons. And I'll be coming out of this 4-passenger line with this 2-track line. This is two-way procedural track. You don't want to put these connections close to one another. I'm going to come out about 3 nodes away from it. Stretch out a track at about a 20-degree angle. Now with Traffic Manager, I'm going to use the lane connector. This 2-track line is two-way, so I want to come into it from this track, but I want this one to continue through. This track I only want to continue through with, and you can see this track disappeared. And this one, I want to come out to the inside track. This is the great advantage of the dynamic procedural tracks. I'll be putting in the train maintenance facility here, so I want to come off of this 2-track line with a 1-track line. And for that, we'll be using dynamic procedural 2-way, 1 track. I'll stretch out about 18 units. Want to have plenty of space on either side of my maintenance facility because we're going to have a 15-track rail yard coming into it and going out of it. I might take a piece of dirt road and just mark about where I want my maintenance facility to be. The maintenance facility page on the Steam Workshop has 13 assets and 1 required mod, Move It. If you download the entire set of assets, you'll have so many icons it can be overwhelming. So I'm going to start simple, and also I want my maintenance facility to be functional. I want trains coming in and out of it. So I'll be using one of the 4 main packs of buildings. First pack of buildings has longitudinal gantry alignment. The second pack, transversal gantry alignment. Those align the cranes across the tracks. Those buildings have pits and gantries, and those cranes lift the trains up off the tracks so that they can be worked on. The third pack of buildings is the storage yard, and they don't have any pits or any gantries for cranes. The fourth pack is terminal modules. They don't have gates on one side. I want gates on both sides of mine. You'll see how this all works out during the video. I've also subscribed to Train Maintenance Facility 3-track expansion. That has a crane, and I'll show you how to do those in case you want to use the other packs in this set. So we'll go to find it, and we'll type DOM. These are the doors, and here we have some assets for the buildings. These first 2 are the Train Maintenance Facility 3-track expansion. So I'm going to put these over here to the left. You'll see that it's just 2 buildings, and this is the crane that hangs on the inside of those. These cranes you can hang just like this on all of the other assets in the pack. You want to get down at the level that you can see these, and you'll put the crane right over those gantries. This is the transversal alignment. The other alignment takes the cranes along the tracks, and here's your pits where your trains can come in. Now for my train maintenance facility, I'm going to be using these. This is number 3. L stands for left side, R is right side, M is middle, S is one side, and C is center module. You'll see how these work out once I get them laid down. So I'm just going to lay them all out. There's 5 in this particular pack. You want to have flat ground when you're putting these in. You just take a look at these, you can see that these 2 buildings here are the end pieces. They have the front doors. This is the centerpiece here. This piece is the middle piece, And these are the side pieces. You can put these in any configuration you want. This is just the storage yard. We want to use these so that trains can come in at one side and go out the other. To align these, I'm going to use Move It. I'm going to move my arrow keys and bring these up next to each other. The fine alignments are Control-Alt, which turns the building slightly. Just Control turns the building at an angle. And Shift-Alt brings the building in with fine alignments. So once I get the building up next to each other with Alt, I'm going to hit Shift Alt and just move this building into each other. I only want 15 tracks in my maintenance facility. If you want 20, you'll copy this piece, paste it in between these two. Now I'll copy the end piece and click 4 times with my right mouse button. Plop it down, hit Escape, and move this one in. I want my building to be 6 pieces long, so I'm going to go ahead and take these 3 sections, copy them, and I'll paste them in 3 more times. Now I'll take this section here, copy it, turn it around with the right mouse button, paste it down. This is how you would make any of the buildings in any one of the packs. You can move it out of the way. We want to take a center track, and we want to take this track semi-parallel to the main line here. And we're going to stretch it out where about this center piece here is halfway between this track. We're going to need just a little bit more track here. Now we'll take our building and we want to align it up with this track. I'm using the catenaries to get a guide as to where this building needs to be. Now I'll take the building up here to the center piece, to the center road. Now I'll move my building in where the track is going through the center door on the building. Shift Alt and I'll line up these two tracks. These are bare tracks. You can subscribe to the railyard pit tracks in this set. That gives you several assets. Those are for the other buildings. If you want to use bare track from these outwards, you can also just subscribe to railyard bare track. But I'm just going to bring my track right up to the edge of this building. And I'll check my other side to see if we're in alignment. We're slightly out of alignment here. So I'm going to use Control Alt and just move this in one click. And we'll be out of alignment over here. So Shift Alt and I'll just move the building over. Try to align it up as best as possible. This is good enough for me, but if you want to, you can take this track and just bring it out slightly. I would do that after we lay our tracks. Because you want these tracks to be parallel. We're going to use our Network Multi-Tool and the Create Parallel mode. Once you have your parallel mode selected, you're going to use the plus and minus keys to move these back and forth. The fine adjustments are Alt X. You look at the dialog box, you'll see we want to align our white arrow on the inside right over those bare tracks. I'm using Alt X and the plus key to align the arrow straight over those bare tracks. You want to look straight at it. You can see that the white arrow is pretty much centered over those two. And you also see the yellow marker covering up both parts of the door here. If you have an English or other language installed on your keyboard and you've accidentally hit Alt Shift, you're going to need to hit Alt Shift again because the Network Multi-Tool doesn't work once you've changed the keyboard layout to a different language. Now we hit Enter. And you'll see once you move this to the left that our tracks are almost perfectly aligned. That's good enough for me, but you can Control Z and move those in and out to make them perfect. Now I'm using Alt X and my plus key again to move this over and to align it right over the bare tracks. Move this out of the way and you can see how well your alignment is. There is a small indentation on the left side of that bare track. Those bare tracks are almost perfectly aligned. And we'll continue this process out and get all of our 15 tracks installed. Once you bring your parallel mode over to your center track, you'll see that it stops. You'll want to hit the tab key to move it to the other side. Our train maintenance facility is lined up. You can check your tracks on this side and you can see they're just a bit off on this side. And you can use move it again. And you can bend these just a bit if you like to line those up. Now we're going to mark exactly where our building is. Going to take out about 3 units right from this center of the pillar here. We want this line to be on this line here. Now we're going to continue with the dynamic track, two-way, and we're going to connect up our rail yard. This we might curve just a bit to follow the outside line. Now we're going to take the two-way, two-track, stretch it out, connect it back to our main line. Now Railway 2 Procedural USA 1x2. Going to build out this complex rail yard. I'm going to use the freeform track tool here. You can use what's best for you. I'm going to come out 2 nodes away, and I'm going to stretch this in to where it's pointing straight at that track. You can see the closer I get to that track, it's curving inwards towards the center track. I want this to be pointing straight at it. Now with straight track, I'll take it in. I'm not going to make a connection on that node there. And with the freeform track tool, I'll continue out the process. The concept you're learning here is basically how you build out complex rail yards. Takes practice, and you don't ever want to take a turnout where there's already a turnout. Once I have two free nodes away from this track, these are two free nodes without a connection. I can use that to bring in the other one. Alternating back and forth between freeform track tool and the straight track tool. You might also want to unselect road guidelines on particular instances. This may just be too close. Freeform track tool. Sometimes you can come straight in. Another thing you can do is curve this outwards and then back in to go straight in. We have all 15 tracks connected. And now we can begin to massage these a bit to clean up some of the glitches. Or you could use a piece of gravel path to cover up these unsightly things. I'm just going to use Move It, and then I'm going to be happy with the glitches that I clean up with this process here. You can also see your catenaries popping in and out. You don't want to move these up and down. The nodeless track, sleepers don't manipulate as much as on these. What you do not want to see are these tracks here that are not connected. You need to be very careful hitting Control Z. They're connected back again. You also usually don't want to manipulate the nodes where there's a turnout. If you do that, you want to check your connection again. This one's okay. And see how your sleepers are moving away from each other there? Now you can use adaptive networks and take out some of the catenaries if there are just too many for you. Clicking this section and disabling the catenaries. If you see they don't disappear, go ahead and unselect that again. This one, they're not disappearing, so I'm not going to leave that selected. Now that we have our maintenance facility finished and our connections finished, we're going to make this semi-functional. Obviously, the trains coming in and out of this aren't going to be worked on. We're going to take our marquee tool and we're going to double click buildings and just select the buildings. We're going to use our arrow keys to come out from this track selection here. These little gravel roads also serve to show you exactly where your building is covering. Now we're going to be putting in the invisible train station. And we're going to take out some of the segments in order to put in the train station. You'll want to rotate this around with your right mouse button. Line it up as best as you can to the tracks. And you'll want to choose Railway 2, wired gravel concrete 2x2 standard entry ground level. And you can see that putting this node up against the other, I can still turn slightly with my right mouse button to get it aligned. The other thing you can do is take out these sections here, and we'll connect those back up in a minute. If you can't get this aligned correctly, we want this as straight as possible. It's just going to snap, so you might want to take off Snap to, select your track again. You want the square piece facing inwards. The square piece of this is where your passengers are going to stand. Just might have to do it this way. Putting the square piece level with that other track. Now we're going to connect this up. With our one-way procedural track. First we'll connect these two. Now we'll connect our track. You can see here that this connection isn't quite right. You're going to have to go back, connect these from the outside. What you want to see here is this crossover track form. We're going to put in another one. You can put in as many of these as you want. I'm going to go ahead and lay this in the center. Might have to turn snapping off again. And I might have to delete out some other tracks. Now we're going to select Move It again. Your building is still aligned. And with those arrow keys, pop your building back into place. Before you unselect this, you might want to check to see if your tracks are lining up again. This is your station track. It's not going to line up. This is also your station track. It's not going to line up. You can take your Move It tool and move that node to line those up. You'll have to bend it into place. Takes a bit of massaging to get this working correctly. Once you're lined up, you might want to take a few others and clean them up. This particular node here. It's where our station is. Now we'll take these and we'll put them somewhere on this end here. First, we're going to line these up with the building. Bring them out just a bit. You want to line these up as well. And you want to select the prop as well. And now we'll take this building, copy it. You want to make this a bit longer. You could take the other building, this one, and the prop, copy it, and make this a bit longer. You want trains coming into these, you can put a train station down. Now we'll copy this and align these up. And we'll put straight tracks in first. Just going to align this up best I can, stretch it through. This is not a connection. We'll need to connect that up. If you accidentally delete this, you still have a node here. You'll want to take your tracks and just connect out to this node here with straight track. You'll see that those come back in. Now we'll connect up some train lines and see these actually work. This particular line is orange, so I want to change that. Right in the center, create a line. And we'll get two arrows here, one here and one here. We'll start with this one. We'll add a stop. Add a stop here. Add a stop on our other station. And we'll complete the line. Now we'll configure that line using the trains we've been using. This is maintenance facility. We'll use the flirt generic. And we'll drop this down to about 2 vehicles. Here's our train coming out. Thank you for watching. The Old Boar plays City Skylines. Take care now.